As I mention once in a while, we are in the biggest committee meeting room in the Capitol, physically the biggest meeting room, and we are all able to socially distance and do our committee work here. So thank you for joining us. We will look at the minutes, though I think for approval, Mr. Thompson, do we need to have a quorum present to approve the minutes? And if we do, we don't have a quorum present. Wanted to know what the procedure was, if you would, please.
Madam Chair, this is Jason Thompson with the Revisor's Office. Yes, for any binding committee action such as approval, you would need a quorum.
That's what was my understanding of the rules as well. So thank you for clearing that up. Committee, we do have minutes for approval for January 15th, 19th, 21st, 26th, 27th, 28th, and February 2nd and 3rd. If you would take a look at that, we will not be taking any action on that today because we do not have a quorum present here in the committee meeting room. We do have some senators joining us on WebEx, but we're not able to take action as a committee unless committee members and the appropriate number are here in the committee meeting room. With that, then, we will open the hearing on Senate Bill 220 with first a bill brief from Mr. Revisor, Mr. Thompson, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is Jason Thompson with the Revisor's Office again. Senate Bill 220 would increase the penalty for battery committed against a utility worker. The bill amends KSA 215413 to add utility workers to the crime of battery. You'll notice in the bill itself, we do a little reorganizing of the statute. There's a current crime that is battery against a school employee, and we changed the wording of that so that it could be a category of covered employees, and we can place school employees, mental health employees that are also already included in current law, and then utility workers, the new group included in this bill, under that same category. So there's some structural changes, but no substantive changes to the current mental health employee or school employee groups, but there was a new group added, utility workers. Just wanted to clarify that a little bit because it's a little confusing if you look at the bill. The change to penalties is to increase the penalty from just a regular battery penalty of Class B misdemeanor to a severity level 7 person felony if your battery is committed against a utility worker during the course of the performance of that employee's duties. Utility workers are defined as an employee of a Kansas registered utility company providing utility services such as electric, natural gas, broadband or cable services, water service, utility line clearance, or line locate services. And with that, I'll stand for questions.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Committee, any questions for the revisor? I have one. Maybe this is for Kansas Legislative Research Department. Do other states have similar statutes that would make it a crime for a battery against specifically a utility worker? If Natalie Nelson is on the call and able to answer.
Hi, Madam Chair. This is Natalie Nelson from Legislative Research. I do not have that information off the top of my head. I can look into it, though, and get that information for you.
That would be helpful. Thank you. And I would probably think maybe our conferee would have the answer. We will see. Committee, any questions for the revisor? Seeing none, then we will invite our proponent conferee, Mr. David Galvin, from the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local 304, to the podium. Please introduce yourself and welcome to committee. If you want to make sure your microphone is on and make sure you speak directly into it so all those listening online can hear as well. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. Thank you for allowing me the time to testify in front of you today in support of SB 220. My name is David Galvin, and I do represent the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local 304. Local 304 represents workers across the state in public, private, and rural electric capacities. I have members that work in all aspects of utility, but today I do want to talk about some of our field workers, including electrical, natural gas, and line clearance tree trimming. We all know that utility work is inherently dangerous. Workers understand this and take precautions to limit risk and do their job safely and efficiently. They understand that there is always the potential of being injured on the job. Unfortunately, there's also the issue of violence directed at them that they must also unfortunately deal with. In my written testimony, I outlined a few instances of violence against utility workers, but I would like to outline just a few more that have happened here in Kansas. Back in 2016, Evergy was in the process of doing meter changes, going over to the AMI system. In Hutchinson, 4 days apart in March of 2016, 2 separate Evergy employees were attacked by angry customers. One was held at gunpoint by the customer until police arrived and interceded. The other had his vehicle blocked in by the customer, who then tried to run the employee over. Thankfully, there were no serious injuries in either matter. I was recently told, this came up in a joint labor management meeting with Kansas Gas. A worker reported that a customer pointed a gun at him from inside the house, watched him as he went around the property, and kept the gun pointed at him through the window the whole time he was on the property. I was also told of a situation in Wichita where 2 Kansas Gas employees were chased down an alley by a man with a pipe wrench. On a personal note, prior to working for the local union, I was a customer service representative for Kansas Gas Service, and I dealt with thousands of customers over the phone, most of whom were amazing to talk to, but I'm sure you can imagine some of the things that were said by angry customers, and that was over the phone. Many of those people's anger is amplified when they have a service person in front of them. These are simply people trying to do their jobs, wanting to get home safely after shift. They're the ones who get called out in the middle of the night for emergencies and power restorations. They're the ones who have been out over the last week of frigid temperatures, making sure the service stayed on. They deserve the safest working environment possible. Now, SB 220 does not call for incarceration, but simply increases the severity level of the current battery statute. We believe that this is an important step to show our essential workers out there that they have a bit more protection if things get out of hand. For these reasons, we urge you to pass SB 220. Thank you for your time, and we'll stand for any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Galvin. Do we have any other proponent conferees in the committee meeting room or on WebEx? Seeing and hearing none. Then committee, do we have any questions for our proponent conferee, Mr. David Galvin from the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local 304? Yes, Senator Corson.
Well, Madam Chair, I was just going to ask if our proponent knew the answer to the very good question that I thought that you posed.
Sure.
I'll let you ask it. I thought it was a good question.
Thank you for reminding me of the question that we had proposed to Kansas Legislative Research Department. And Mr. Galvin, if you'll come back to the podium and if you can answer whether you know any other state that has specified that utility workers are a protected class of workers in statute as is proposed here in Senate Bill 220, if you know.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. David Galvin, IBEW Local 304. We have seen similar legislation passed in various states, Missouri, West Virginia, Ohio, New York, and California, to name a few. I don't know if there's many more, but we have seen this trend of the violence against these utility workers. So yes, several states have passed legislation. Some of them have even made it imprisonable offenses. I believe New York was one of those, and Missouri as well, but I don't know the full statutes there.
Thank you. Remind me again, where utility worker has not been a protected class of worker employee before, and we would be, if this bill were to be enacted and become statute, this would be a Class B person misdemeanor, is that right?
No, this would raise, it would take it from a Class B misdemeanor to a Level 7 severity person felony. It's still presumptive probation, but it would raise it to that felony level.
Is it a Level 8 now, you know? Or I guess it would just be regular battery.
Right. It's currently if an assault on a battery on a utility worker would be that Class B misdemeanor battery. This would raise it to the felony.
Level 7 person felony, okay. Yes, we had a question for you, Mr. Galvin, don't leave yet, from Senator Bowers.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for being here in person, David. No question, just a comment. I'm very glad you told us about Kansas situations. It brings it back home to us so we can truly see the folks. But in your testimony with the national ones is bad enough, but it truly, when it happens with our friends and family where we live, we really appreciate that. So thanks for those examples.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, and thank you for the examples as well. It's important that we be able to hear what's happening right here in Kansas, and that this is something that does occur here. We don't like that it does, but it does happen. Do we have other questions from the committee for Mr. Galvin? Doesn't look like we do. So, Mr. Galvin, thank you for appearing today, and appreciate you coming in person, and thank you for your testimony.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Committee, we don't have any neutral conferees signed up to provide testimony today, but I will ask, are there any neutral conferees in the committee meeting room or on WebEx? Seeing and hearing none. Committee, we also do not have any opponent testimony in your folder or anyone signed up to provide oral testimony, but I will ask, do we have any opponent conferees in the committee meeting room or on WebEx? Seeing and hearing none, then, we will close the hearing on Senate Bill 220. Committee, we do have on the agenda for today final action on bills previously heard. However, we do not have a quorum today, so we will not be taking final action on bills previously heard. But keep in mind those that I have discussed earlier that we will possibly be taking final action on. Also, please be prepared next week to take a look at your approval or not of minutes for January 15th, 19th, 21st, 26th, 27th, 28th, and February 2nd and 3rd, which should be in your committee folders. I believe we have drafts. You've received those electronically. Thank you to our committee assistant for that. And also, we will be, again, as a reminder, possible hearing on looking at the Kansas Emergency Management Act, possibly Wednesday and Thursday next week. We do not meet Monday in honor of Senator Bud Estes, who passed, and his funeral is Monday. But we do have a lot of work to do on the KEMA bill that will be coming forward. Yes, I have a question from our IT assistant. Just to confirm, if we have any committee members who are in the building and would like to ask any questions, I want to open that up as well. Seeing and hearing none, then I guess the hearing was already closed, but we can reopen it if we need to for any of those questions. And seeing and hearing none, then we will again have the hearing remain closed on Senate Bill 220. Committee, please be sure to pack a lunch for Wednesday and Thursday if we need to go through the noon hour. We are facing turnaround in the legislature, which is a deadline to get bills out of the Chamber of Origin by March 5th of next week, if I'm having my weeks correct. So we'll be needed to do the heavy work on KEMA next week. Again, that's the Kansas Emergency Management Act. With that then, committee, I thank you for your time and thank you for those of you joining us online, and we are adjourned.